Oblige the Jews in the annulment laws. This is the first of what I begin to compel them copies of the text of their book and their assets than required. We say to them, you had proceeded before the descent of the Torah, or not? The belied light including uttered by the second part of the first travel of the Torah, as the law of God to Noah, peace be upon him, in the dead of retribution that says, Hogala prasiyamam bimandamo ishvakiexam Elohim asat. Here man, inexplicable, whoso sheddeth human blood, the shedding of his blood phlegma, because God created the human and dishonest, and attested by the second part of the first travel of the Torah, as it proceeded to Abraham, peace be upon him, born circumcised on the 8th day of his birthday. This and the like the laws, because in Islam does not come out as being something of God or forbid slaves, both descended on San Messenger, or written in the books, sheets or otherwise. If acknowledged that he had proceeded, we told them, what do you say in the Bible, you came up on those laws, or not? They were not brought up, it has become in vain, as it does not increase it, on the above, not done away with something, it is not permissible to be issued by God, the Almighty, then you have that the Bible is not from God, and so on Kafrenzi HPKM. Though the Torah came up, does this increase in the prohibition of what was permissible, or not? To deny that, saying the champion of two ways, 1, that the Torah was deprived industrial business on Saturday, after it was permissible, and this is a particular copies. The second is that it does not make sense for an increase in Ashura, but the prohibition is made permissible, the legalization of the foregoing prohibition. If they say that Hakan does not prohibit something, then permitted by, because that is the jazz like him, it was like someone ordered something and him. The answer is, it is something in him, times and different, but contrary between orders, but it will be well if the two things at one time. If they say that the Torah was banned things permitted by and did not come to legalize prohibited, copy and hated is the legalization of the outlawed, is permissible for him because of something he refuses him and blocks the same, it is not mkelv, but the violator to prevent all came to nothing, for asked ban outlawed. The answer is, of what lawful blocked sure than a layer of what is forbidden ankle shara, as all of them had violated the project and did not acknowledge the word on the institutes. If the jazz proceeded to come in the Torah forbid what was Abraham, peace be upon him, and offer to ask ban, the law is permissible to come again analyzed what was prohibited in the Torah, and also not free from prohibitions outlawing supposed to be for all time, because God hates it banned for the same or may not be the case, but forbade him in some times. If God forbids work on the Sabbath industries, was appointed to Saturday, it should be a prohibition on Abraham, Noah and Adam also, Saturday because the eye was also present in his time, a reason for the prohibition. If it is forbidden to Abraham is provided, it is not forbidding him to his eyes, I mean at all times of the eye. If CM to the prohibition of industrial business on Saturday is not haram in all the existence of times Saturday, it is not mumna to copy this prohibition in another time, if the back of an existing message miracles and prophecy flags in another time after a long time. Permissible to copy that comes from many provisions of the law, whether the prohibition Mlaheta, or permitted Mazorata, and how it may be argued Balbana came from human or Bainha, particularly that opponents may worship as long as the Raftmana minds, Faran Josh Mashkal, which was Imam Haruni such as burn time of Hajj, and impurity to harm this particular ash. That which purports to be downloaded status of this a lot closer to the mind, the acts the divine commands in you to stand at the appropriate human brains. If El-Tabbat legitimacy is easily neutralized back to God, the Almighty, and driving him damage, to sightseeing, the Almighty, for use with something and getting hurt or what prevents transmitting he says, ordering the law of the nation, and then finished by another nation, or deprived prohibited folk, and solves for their children, and then secondly on prohibited from coming from beyond. How worshipper may be opposed to the prophet in his analysis of what was forbidden to folk, and thus inferred to lie after he came Balbana, and it is obligatory to believe the mind and a polite, not this control, and the draw straight from the truth.